Hello everybody at YouTube, and I am Michael Buckhoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL iBT. And welcome to my live stream today for April 13th, 2017. Now let me kind of give you the pretext for this particular live stream. I teach students online at my website, an online TOEFL course, 23 years, so a very long time. Now I have a question. A student asked me a question last week, and the question was so important I wanted to spend some time discussing this question. So that's kind of the purpose of the video. I will be sharing an article with you guys at YouTube, and I'm going to give it a title. It's called Creating a Coherent Flow During the TOEFL iBT Speaking Section, What You Need to Know. So what do you need to do in order to get a very high score on the TOEFL iBT exam? And really the most important question is, what should you be doing right now in order to reach that high score? So that's kind of what you want to think about, right? So let's go over to my website now, and let's take a look at the article, and I will go over it with you guys. So first of all, okay, I'm going to put this in the corner here. And now let's go over to screen capture. Okay, so let's take a look at it. So here's the actual question that I got from the student, first of all. So let's take a look at that. Let me try to make things a little bit bigger so you guys can see. Hopefully you can see this. Even a little bit bigger. Okay, here we go. This works here. I think this is going to work for you guys, so I want to make sure you guys can read it. Okay, so the student said, Mr. Michael, last time you advised me about my tell and thank you. So to give you guys some background, when this student completed her last speaking practice test, I noticed she had some problems with her intonation, so I recommended specific lessons that she could go over in order to improve in that area. So then she says, I would like to talk to you about the difficulty I've met while I'm speaking, because each question of the TOEFL speaking section only gives one shot. I sometimes cannot create a flow in my thinking to answer it. Also, I cannot go back to change my word order and vocabulary use. It's very unlike the writing part. So she says, how can I create this flow in a limited time and make it correct all at once? Today I continue to practice lesson 20. Let me know your comments. So she also sent me a speaking practice test that she wanted me to comment on, right? So this is what I want to answer specifically, so you guys kind of get what her question is. This is important. This is a good question. So the student is having difficulty because the TOEFL speaking, you only have one chance to answer each question, and she's saying it's not like the writing, because in the writing she can go back and she can look at some of the words or the sentences that she's written and she can make changes, but she cannot do that with the speaking section, right? So she wants to know how to create this flow in limited time and to make it correct at once. Right, so based on her question, I wrote this article. And this is what I want to go over with you guys right now. So I hope in this video you guys can get some very good ideas on what you need to do in order to score high on the speaking section. That is the main thing, right? Here we go. And what I'll do is I'm going to read it, and then I will make comments as I go. So it says, when students complete the speaking section of the TOEFL exam, they may encounter difficulties, especially since they only have one chance to complete each of the 6 tasks during a 20-minute duration. Because these test takers are seeing the independent and integrated speaking task for the first time, and of course, because they're reading and listening to the passages for the first time, they may have difficulty creating a coherent flow in their responses. To compound the problem even more, unlike the writing section, these test takers are unable to retrace their steps to make corrections in grammar, word order, pronunciation, and vocabulary usage. Therefore, how do these test takers create a coherent flow in their speaking responses and make everything correct in their first and only attempts to respond to these 6 speaking tasks? That's the question, right? Okay, so there's really 3 things that you need to do. There's 3 areas in this article I'm going to focus on. First of all, I will talk about delivery and things that you need to do in order to have good delivery. Secondly, I will talk about language use and specifically things that you need to do in order to improve your language use. Third, I will talk about topic development and things that you can do to improve in that area. So that is the purpose of this particular article. Now, you guys at YouTube, if you want to read the article for yourself, if you go to the chat area, I put a link to the article that you are seeing live. And remember, first, I just published this about 15 minutes ago, so nobody on the internet has seen this article except you. If you're at YouTube, you guys are the first people who are actually seeing this article. And actually took me about 5 or 6 hours to write, so it took a long time. I had to use all of my experience to put it all together. Okay, let's talk about delivery. First of all, students need to have strong deliveries during the speaking section of the TOEFL exam. That is, if they want to score higher than 26 out of 30 points. These students should concentrate on increasing their exposure to the English language through movies, television programs, and radio broadcasts. In addition, these students should find ample opportunities to speak English with native speakers. If they live in the United States, these students can volunteer at local homeless shelters, libraries, thrift stores, elementary schools, and high schools. For example, if a non-native speaker volunteers at a local library, he or she could interact 5 to 15 hours a week with other native speakers of American English, and that is a lot of English practice over 1 to 2 months. Okay, so you guys at YouTube, I'm just sharing an example with you guys for a minute. Earlier today, I worked out over at the Recreation Center here at California State University, San Bernardino, and guess who I saw in there? A volunteer. There was a student. It had on the back of her shirt, it said CSUSB volunteer. So this person was volunteering to help out in the rec center, to help the school manage the equipment, and to help students when they had questions and so on. So she's a volunteer. So in any city, anywhere in the United States, if you contact the organization and tell them that you want to volunteer, most people will say yes. Yeah, we would love to have a volunteer. And what they may ask you to do is, they might require you to complete a background check or to give them some references. They want to make sure you're not crazy or anybody weird. But volunteering is a great way to really get a lot of exposure to the language. That's why I'm bringing that up. All right, so let's go back to our article. I'm going to go to the next part of it now. Okay, here we go. The next part. In addition to getting a lot of general exposure to English, students wanting to improve their deliveries can hire a TOEFL iBT pronunciation and speaking specialist. For example, in my online TOEFL course, a 7-step system to pass a TOEFL iBT, students complete 3 pronunciation tests. a pretest focusing on the vowel and consonant sounds of American English, a pretest centering on syllable division, grammatical word endings, word stress, sentence rhythm, intonation, thought groups, and blending, and a final post-test to see whether or not my students have mastered all the pronunciation lessons in my course. After each of the pre-tests, I pinpoint specific intelligibility problems that my students have and recommend specific lessons that these students review. You guys remember at the very beginning of this video, there was a student who I recommended complete some pronunciation practice lessons, and she did that. She sent me another speaking task, and then she asked the question that I'm answering right now. So it says, then these students review the recommended lessons and complete specific voice recording exercises on which I can comment. After listening to and evaluating these voice recordings, I sent the students audio messages telling them whether or not they have mastered the pronunciation exercises that they're practicing. Hence, many of my students are able to reduce their non-native speaker accents and to speak more clearly. Alright, so for you guys, and I know what you're thinking, right? You're saying this guy wants me to pay money to join his course. You don't have to join my course. I don't need you to join my course. I'm a full-time professor here at California State University, San Bernardino. I teach here full-time. I have retirement packages. I've been here for a long time. I have a website, it's true, but I don't really need people to join my course. I'm doing fine without people joining the course. In fact, my course, when you think about it, it's almost free. Students have to pay $45 a month, but that doesn't even cover the cost it takes for me to operate the website. For example, I have to hire a teaching assistant who reads and scores my students' practice tests, and I'm the one who listens to all the speaking practice. And the $45, it doesn't even cover the costs that I have for my website. So don't worry, you don't need to join my course if you don't want to. It doesn't matter to me. However, if you do join my course, I promise you, you will reach your goals, you'll save a heck of a lot of money, you won't have to keep taking the TOEFL test over and over and over. Finally, you will reach your goals on the test, right? And that's a fact. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going to where we are. So let's go back. Go to screen capture again. Okay, the next area, the second area now, we're going to language use, right? That's why I'm saying second of all. Second of all, to speak coherently during the TOEFL speaking section means that students need to be comfortable using a combination of both basic and advanced vocabulary and grammar. To help students with both basic and advanced vocabulary, I created the vocabulary section of my online TOEFL course to help them in Lesson 3, for example, address their basic vocabulary needs, and in Lesson 4 through 6, address their advanced vocabulary needs. In all, my students aim to acquire approximately 2,000 vocabulary words as they complete the vocabulary lessons in my course. In addition, as my online TOEFL students complete the pronunciation, grammar, listening, reading, writing, and speaking sections of my course, they will again see the vocabulary words that they learn. The more that my students see and hear the vocabulary words that they're studying, the more likely that they will retain them for future use. So what am I saying here? What I'm saying is I designed my course this way. Students are introduced to the vocabulary in the vocabulary section of my course. They study, they learn the words, they download the audio files, they complete the practice test, they do the reading passages, they complete the grammar practice exercises. They do everything that they need to do to acquire the words in that first section of my course. Then, when the students go to the pronunciation section and the grammar and the listening and the reading, writing, and speaking, they will see these words again in practice exercises. They'll see them or hear them in lectures. They'll see them in reading passages. So by the time students finish my online course, they will have seen the vocabulary words that they studied in the first section of my course, they will have seen those words again dozens and dozens of times. I did that on purpose. I know that repetition is a very important part of second language acquisition, and I know if my TOEFL students see those vocabulary words in different kinds of contexts, it is more likely that they will learn those words. That's exactly why I did that. Okay, let's keep going. It says, another strategy to help students improve their language use, which in turn will help them to speak more coherently and fluently, involves students listening to and reading academic passages on a daily basis. As the TOEFLers practice with these passages, they should take notes on the main and the most important support points. Then these students use their notes to prepare and give 60-second oral responses summarizing the main and most important support points of these passages. In addition, these students should also use their notes to write 250-word summaries of the reading and the listening passages. Speaking and writing about what these TOEFLers are reading and listening to will reinforce, this is important, YouTubers, it'll reinforce the new vocabulary and grammar that they are seeing. So doing this kind of practice, reading, listening, note-taking, speaking, and writing, over time, will give these students a strong command of English. And that's exactly what you want for the TOEFL exam. The better command you have over the language, I think the higher your score is going to be. And that's a good thing. All right, let's keep going. Students can further improve their language use by developing a strong command of both basic and advanced grammar, which is exactly why I include a specific grammar section in my online TOEFL course. While completing the grammar part of my course, I suggest that students complete the grammar pre-test first so they can see which areas that they should focus on. As these students complete these lessons, they should practice writing down the new grammar structures that they are learning and should make sure that they are comfortable writing and speaking simple, compound, and complex sentences. All right, let's keep going. So the last area I want to talk about is topic development. This is also something that's important. So you definitely need to do this too. So let's keep going. Okay, third of all, of course, as students improve their deliveries and language use, they're more likely to be able to demonstrate superior topic development by being able to organize and then develop their independent and integrated speaking practice tests. These students will need to master, you guys might want to write this down, you will need to master 4 techniques to help them more cohesively connect their ideas together. Using transition words, repeating and rephrasing key ideas, using pronouns and determiners to link old and new information together, and using parallel structures to highlight certain ideas at key junctures of the speaking responses. Understanding these 4 techniques takes practice and a whole lot of patience, but I'm telling you, if TOEFLers are able to use these cohesive devices in their speaking, iBT human raters will be able to see how their ideas are connected. So that's also a very good thing for you. Another aspect of topic development focuses on whether or not TOEFLers can include specific details to support their ideas during the independent speaking tasks 1 and 2, and whether or not these students are effectively able to paraphrase, big word here, to paraphrase the main and most important points of the reading and listening passages during the integrated speaking tasks 3 through 6. The key word for integrated speaking is paraphrase, which means that TOEFLers need to be comfortable using their own vocabulary and grammar to re-explain the main points of the reading and listening passages. The need To be able to paraphrase highlights the importance of vocabulary, which is also why the first section of my online TOEFL course is vocabulary. Alright, here's my final comments. I'm almost done. Practicing writing down and then delivering independent and integrated speaking practice tests, taking as much time as is needed to deliver a response that has good delivery, accurate grammar, vocabulary usage, and a coherent organization with adequate development is one of the things I recommend that TOEFLers do to develop better control over their deliveries, language use, and topic development. Even, this is important, even if this process takes 30 to 40 minutes to complete, I still recommend that students do this in their initial speaking practice routine. So what am I talking about? For example, some of my online TOEFL course students will take 1/3 of their speaking practice tests that they send me to listen to, evaluate, correct, and grade, and will write out the response first. They will practice it several times, even checking to see if the vocabulary and grammar is correct. These students will also check to see if they have organized the responses well, and if they have provided adequate supporting details for the responses. Finally, remember, this could take 30 minutes. Finally, they send it to me to comment on. In fact, one of my students spent about an hour writing out and practicing her speaking responses daily before sending them to me to grade. And guess what? 2.5 months later, you want to hear this one? It's hard to believe, but it's true. She took the TOEFL exam and scored 28 points on the speaking section. Right? So of course when you're doing the TOEFL exam, you cannot take 30 minutes to prepare your response. But what I'm saying is, as you do this practice now and not later, you get more and more confident and comfortable with your own vocabulary, with your own grammar, with your own pronunciation, with your own organization, with your own details, your development, and so on. It becomes more and more natural to you as you practice, and then when you take the TOEFL exam, it's not so bad. Alright, in conclusion, therefore, speaking naturally, coherently, and fluently may be challenging, but students are able to overcome these obstacles by scoring 26 on the speaking section, and you can too. You got to believe it. It is possible. Pretty much anybody who has half a brain can get a high score on the speaking section. It's a matter of practicing over a period of time, developing fluency, and then thinking on your feet, and then taking the TOEFL test, and then getting your goal. You guys see that? And that is the video that I have here. So anyway, thank you guys all for watching my YouTube video. I hope that you've gotten some good ideas on what you need to do in order to create a coherent flow during your TOEFL iBT speaking tasks when you take the TOEFL exam.